the tapestry that I really wanted to use for this video, but due to the fact that I really want to get it out quicker, and the fact that I really don't know where it is at this point in this mess of a room that I live in, she's just back here instead. Say hi! The Japanese adult content industry is one that has always been at odds with its own government, and also with many other corporations from other industries that just choose not to do business with it by virtue of association with the type of content that it releases. And today we see three companies that have come back into the fray once again. Mastercard is one of those companies that apparently is so trigger happy with stopping transactions for its sites that apparently it once cut transactions for Nico Nico Doga, which is the Japanese equivalent of YouTube, over a clickbaity video title. And Visa? Well, I mean, I guess they're just part of doing their own thing. I mean, they are the biggest credit card company in the world after all. And American Express, which is pretty much like the little brother of these two. And I don't mean this just in terms of the fact that their market share really does make them look very little in comparison to the other two, but due to the fact that they also initially weren't even involved in all of this, and instead they just jumped in halfway through after seeing that their two older brothers were already in this and were putting their foot down on the matter, it seems. And now within this long saga that has lasted for more than 10 plus years, we are seeing another entry into it with the issue that's happening with DLsite right now. And if there's anyone out there who just thinks like, oh, but this is just gonna affect all of that lolly shit that I don't really care about, why do I have to care about any of this? Well, according to information that has come out so far, it would seem that this is likely to affect content across a large variety of genres, and it's actually gonna affect some of the SFW, doujin, indie creators within Japan as well. So the situation is actually a much bigger than one might actually see it on the surface. For those of you who do not know what DLsite is, DLsite is a website that allows you to purchase digital copies of content. Hence the name. It actually works pretty well if you think about it. But yeah, this website is used by people as well as corporations to sell digital copies of the content that they have produced. And most prolific on this website is the ability for people to sell doujin content, which for people who don't know, doujin content is basically just content made by people with similar interests. And in large ways, it is quite similar to just indie content as well. And you can see this with a lot of the SFW, like the safe for work content that's produced on the website, as you can find everything from people creating funny parody books about what if Madoka, but JoJo, to things such as ASMR and even sound effects, like the stuff that I can even use in editing videos. Like the kind of stuff I can use in even editing videos such as this. That said, of course, no doubt one of their biggest, if not their biggest revenue stream is likely from the NSFW content, the adult content that is sold on the website, with people as well as corporations producing games, ASMRs as well as books, with characters in promiscuous situations, and it is this segment where today's issue comes in. To give a rundown of what has happened so far, on March 26, Visa and Mastercard sent an appeal to DLsite stating that they took issue with some of the ways that adult content was expressed on the website. In response, DLsite actually censored certain words and expressions on the website, and they also changed the text that contained words that might have been problematic in this situation, which ended up being quite a long list of words. Now, needless to say, I'm not gonna show the actual text on the screen here, due to the fact that much of this, while to the English-speaking audience, it's probably just gonna be moon runes that no one is gonna understand what's going on at all. It is also true that these are still words that are violating the community guidelines, I guess, of this website, and that would be very, very obviously readable to someone who can understand Japanese, or to the Japanese like populace at large. So out of respect for that, I won't be putting it here. But that said, for those of you who want to know more, I will be putting a link to some of the news outlets that did cover this situation, so you can see it over there. Now obviously the content might be considered a little more risque, so if you're under the age of 18 or the legal age in your country, whatever it is, please do not click on the link. Do not, okay? But if you're above the age and you're interested in the situation, feel free to click. You will probably be able to get even more information about the exact words used there. So to give a quick summary of what was on the list, and therefore all of the things that Visa and Mastercard took issue with, essentially anything that might be considered a harder kink is just alright on the list. So things like Yosuga no Sora style, like banging your sister or brother, hypnosis, anything involving animals and sex or anything of the like. Anything containing what might be considered BDSM, all of that basically falls under this. So it doesn't really have to do with just the age group of lollies, although those were included, but just everything across the board that is just not considerable vanilla. After this, as well as the March 27th revision, they still couldn't come to an agreement, it seems, and on the 3rd of April, the website essentially had to announce that they actually had to halt all usage of Visa and Mastercard on the website indefinitely. And then on the 4th of April, in spite of the fact that they were not involved in the entire thing till now, American Express apparently decided to throw their weight into the matter as well, and so somehow now transactions for American Express have also been stopped, resulting in JCB being the only bank left, or like major credit card left within the original few that you could use to purchase on the site that are still usable. Well, kinda, because of the fact that while you can't directly use these cards for a transaction, you could just use any of the other like payment gateways or applications and basically go through those, and you can basically just use your Visa, Mastercard as like stuff like Line Pay, PayPay. You could use your PayPal to purchase points of the website to then make your purchase. All of this can be linked to your Visa or Mastercard still, so it's not much of a difference, but it is still something that is gonna restrict accessibility for many people out there, especially when you consider how widely used these two cards are. Within Japan alone, a survey from 2020 shows that about 70+% of all credit cards out in the market share was about there for Visa and Mastercard combined. And for the rest of the world as well, you kind of do have UnionPay, which is pretty big, but even if you exclude them, just these two companies alone take up about 60+% of the market share, so it is still very big. And for many people for whom these are probably the only cards that they have, they're just gonna lose accessibility to the website unless they go through one of these other applications which they may not be very familiar or comfortable with using as well. And I guess this actually gives me a reason to use my JCB card, which has been collecting dust again. But yeah, so overall this is still going to be painful for the website, because while most people who are determined enough can easily find a workaround, it is probably going to cause many of the just more casual users of the website to just stop using it altogether, since it would be quite a few hurdles to jump through just to be able to continue using it. That said, the way that these credit card companies are going around about it, it does feel very performative. Like, all of this just feels like they're just doing it for the sake of the publicity, to basically show people that they're taking a stance against stuff that might be considered like deviant adult content or whatever the fuck they're trying to do, while at the same time not really like putting any effort into it, because one, this really doesn't show that they actually care. They're still allowing people to redirect around their application to basically still use the cards. Like, if they really cared about this on a moral standpoint, they probably would have been a lot stricter. They would probably have like reached out to all of these companies as well and tried to restrict their usage of the cards for all of these websites as well. They wouldn't just allow it to easily be circumvented like this. So it just really screams of like out of touch people who really don't understand the market they're trying to deal with, and just causing all this kind of issues for everyone overall. For all of those out there who are still wondering like, Mr. Salaryman, why do you care so much about all this Coomer stuff? Are you a Coomer? Once again, one thing you have to understand is that all this doesn't just apply to NSFW stuff, but to the entire Dogecoin community as a whole, which within this community, you can find a lot of very interesting safe for work stuff as well. People make leather belts, they make cups, they make jewelry, hell, stuff like this was bought at a Dogecoin event as well. Like, you can really find a lot of stuff at events like these, and the thing is that it is thanks to the existence of these events that the anime industry, in my opinion, managed to grow as much as it did. Because many successful IPs out there do initially start out as doujin stuff as well. Right, Onimai, Prisma earlier, hell, Toho especially. Like, without the existence of the doujin scene, I don't think we have seen something as explosive as Toho at all. The mangaka for Bocchi the Rock as well as Nagatoro both got their start initially within the doujin community. Like, there is a reason why all of these big manga publication companies actually go down to doujin events like Komitea, for example, to actually scour for new recruits, even setting up booths there so that people can get feedback and they can actually recruit people on the spot. Unlucky Morpheus, one of the more popular modern power metal bands from Japan recently, also initially got their start making doujin Toho music. And you look at bands like Iron Attack as well, they're traveling the world playing Toho doujin music as well. Like, these people, these groups have also managed to get their success, all thanks to the fact that these doujin industries have been something that they could rely on as a way to both reach out to people interested in their stuff and as a way to earn some money as well to continue all of these hobbies. And especially now, after the pandemic, where while events have started to see recovery in the number of attendees, it is still also a fact that many have decided to just not go due to the fact that they can easily acquire most of this stuff online from sites like DLsite. And you can talk to many of the, like, especially those NSFW artists out there, you would realize that there isn't really many other good sites for them either. And that's my big issue with all of this. The fact that these credit card companies aren't actually doing this with an understanding of the thing that they are trying to stop or harm through the prevention of the usage of their credit cards. Now, as someone who has worked in the adult game industry in the past, my opinion on all of this might be a little biased for sure, so take what I'm about to say next with a pinch of salt. But I personally do believe that, like, if you want to restrict all of this content from accessibility for kids, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like, I have no issue with that. Because, like, especially with kids, right? They are still developing. Like, no matter how much people might want to say that they are really intelligent, they're really smart as well, it is true that they do not have a lot of exposure to, like, understand the world around them. And therefore, exposing them to this kind of content early might actually warp their understanding of the world, or even of themselves, right? Right? If a minor were to get access to something like fucking Johnny Sins, for example, I don't know, and they were to look at him with his fucking monster cock and think like, oh wait, no, is that what's normal out there? And then they start to suffer from some form of body dysmorphia, thinking that like that is the norm and they are the ones that are off. Then there's gonna be a lot of issues there as well. So like, until they are of an age where this is something that they can process, and after they understand the social structures of the world around them better, yeah, sure, go ahead. I have no issues of stopping kids from being able to access that. But with DLsite, we're talking about all of this content being already restricted only for adults, right? You can't purchase off the websites without these credit cards to begin with. And parents, well, I mean, unless they're the kind that really do not look at the website of the stuff the kids are buying, they'll be able to easily restrict their kids from purchasing off sites like this as well. And when it comes to grown adults purchasing this kind of content to view, my personal opinion is that like most people are already on a level where they should be able to understand the difference between fact and fiction. And therefore, when it comes to stuff in fiction like this, even if it might be something that is very out of the norm, or just any form of other content out there for that matter, where it might contain themes or ideas that might be something that might be considered a little sensitive or questionable if done in real life, for most people, they should be able to differentiate between this fiction and reality, and therefore for adults, they should be able to consume it, in my opinion, right? Because really, if you're gonna make the argument that people can differentiate between fact and fiction well enough to be able to play a 200GB high definition game about killing each other and not become killers, I don't see why we can't allow people to just enjoy their smart or their Coomer books without saying that this is gonna turn people into degenerates all the same. But yeah, I guess this isn't really an opinion that is shared especially by many of these big corporations, since this isn't the first time that something like this has happened. There was also the case of what happened with DMM and Mastercard many years ago. Overall, you do see many forms of this kind of situations where companies are slowly trying to distance themselves from the adult content creation industry in general. Is there anything that can be really done in this situation? Truth be told, I don't know either. With how long this has been going on and how little anyone has been able to deal with any and all of that has been going on up till now, it does feel like there isn't really much that the industry itself can really do about all of this. One can only hope that as the government warms up to the entire idea of like supporting the adult like content industry, maybe you might start to see companies being a little friendlier with it as well. But overall, it does seem like there are like a lot of outcry that still exists around all of this. So hopefully all of this gets resolved soon without too much harm to like how DLsite runs. We've already seen it happen quite a lot recently with like Pixiv and Gumtree and many other websites, as well as all of this clampdown seems to be increasing. But hopefully DLsite might be able to come out of this slightly better, hopefully, who knows. That said, if anything else major comes out about this situation, I'll make sure to report about it then. But until then, this is where we leave off at, with yet another case of like major companies trying to lean in on the adult content creation industry, be it games or just like books or just like the aggregate site in this case, and trying to restrict the ability for people to sell this type of content, and in a way it also would therefore end up leading to these restrictions on people even producing this kind of content in the first place. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you all for watching. This is probably a shorter video, and that's because I'm actually still working on the video I plan to release next week, which is just about like weeb events in Japan that I went to in the past quarter. So that and this, like with this, there isn't really as much to talk about yet. So this is where we'll leave it off at, with all of the information about what has happened up till now here, as well as some like takes, I guess. Maybe a bit too hot, maybe too shitty, I don't know what you would think about the take. But either way, thank you to you all for watching the video. It's thanks to the support that I'm able to continue making these videos. And thank you, special thanks to the following people here: Ran Yakumo, Rosio, Nick Green Cowrie, and Jean Clown Van Damme. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. For the monetary support to keep the channel running, it does help a lot with maybe not so much this video, since this one is a lot quicker and simple, but for all of the much bigger scale videos I do on the channel. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Usually I make videos about the game industry in Japan here and there, as well as console games and events in Japan on the website. So if you're interested in any of that, do feel free to subscribe. You'll get notifications to more of that as it comes out. But until next time, because my battery is running on my camera, take care and bye-bye. Ooh, almost had the mic there.